Welcome to episode number 9 of Actionable Insights. I am your host, Joseph Maxwell. Today, I am really ecstatic about the person that we have joining us today. His name is Jonathan Stevens from audioadvice.com. Audio Advice, this is a company that lives up to their name. They sell audio equipment, high-end, top-of-the-line, incredible audio systems. But not only that, they provide advice for this. They're not just an online marketplace that's selling anything and everything. No, their value proposition is unique. In fact, this company is actually 41 years old, started back in the 70s, and they have grown and grown ever since. And literally less than 5 years ago, they launched their online presence, and they are literally went on with their online presence from zero to hero in a very short amount of time. Now, today we're going to get in there and we're going to break down each of these different pieces that I think has led to their success. And we're going to hear right from Jonathan, who has led a lot of this online expansion. We're going to hear from him directly as far as what they have done and how they have done it. I am super excited about this. But before we get into this, I would really appreciate if you just take a moment. If you're listening to this through Apple or through Google Podcast or through Spotify or any other aggregator, if you just press that subscribe button, or actually, honestly, once you finish listening to this episode, if you find it so helpful that it compels you to write a review, man, that would make my day, because I love learning from these industry professionals, people who've been in there, who've done it, and then sharing it with you in a way that will make it successful for you as well. Jonathan, welcome, and maybe tell us a little bit about yourself and introduce yourself. What do you do at Audio Advice, and give us a little background about the company. Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks for having me today. I really appreciate it. It's a big honor. So I'm Jonathan Stevens, and I'm the general manager here at Audio Advice. Okay. Audio Advice was founded in 1978, so a little over 40 years ago, by our founder and chairman, Leon Shaw, who's still very active in the business today. I joined Audio Advice a little over almost 4.5 years ago now. Prior to Audio Advice, I was the head of business development and e-commerce for what's now a publicly traded company here in the Triangle. And the CEO of Audio Advice, who was sort of a mentor of mine when I was going through grad school, getting my MBA, and I had a startup. He was kind of a mentor and coach of mine back then. And so in 2015, Audio Advice decided to really dive into e-commerce. And so they asked me to come on board and help them build this out. So it's been a great experience so far. It's been a heck of a ride. It's been a lot of fun.
That's really cool. I hear a lot of stuff, even in just your introduction, that I love to see unpack in the future. But one thing that stood out to me, how the person you work for now was a mentor to you. And I think that is so important. And how he invested in you, and now, even how you're able to come on here and invest in so many others. So this is great. Thank you. And welcome to the show.
Absolutely. Just on that note, it was great. When I was going through grad school, I reached out to him about some advice on my company, completely unrelated to anything that he was doing at Audio Advice, but we struck up a friendship. And again, he was sort of a mentor of mine while I was going through that grad school experience and while I had my startup. And then, we kept in touch and, had a kind of a big dream and vision of what would it be like to bring Audio Advice, to a nationwide audience. And so it was excited to come on board again back at the end of 2015, if you can believe it. So it's been a lot of fun.
It sounds like it. Well, and like what you say there is like Audio Advice is 41 years old. And I think, especially for a company that, at least in my observation, for the companies that have been around longer, they're not just started up in this techie era. It'd be interesting to talk about the transition in the business model from, and maybe we can start by talking about where did Audio Advice come from? What was Audio Advice, say 15 years ago, before you launched the e-commerce site? And then how does that look now? Because I think this transition is so critical for so many companies, and how you all have so successfully done it.
Yeah. So again, Leon Shaw founded the company over 40 years ago in Raleigh, with just a real tremendous vision of providing an exceptional world-class experience to his customer and really focusing on high performance luxury goods in the audio video space. He said that when he started the company, there were 18 other competitors just here in the Triangle. And now, AudioVice is the dominant player in the Triangle. And we've continued to expand with our 2 retail stores, one in Raleigh and now one in Charlotte, and really cover the entire Southeast as an industry leader in high performance home audio, home theater, and whole home automation. And so the vision was way back then was to create a world-class showroom and then provide a best-in-class experience. And so we feel like we have 2 world-class showrooms in both Raleigh and Charlotte, which are obviously growing and thriving markets to be in. That are very unique and unlike anything else that you could really see in the entire country, where someone can come in and listen to a high-performance audio setup that may be a $50,000 setup that you just can't test anywhere else in the country, or have the opportunity to see what a $100,000 home theater would look like in their own home and be able to demonstrate that, in our store.
Sure.
So the vision of creating that world-class showroom is really what this company was founded on. And again, providing a world-class experience for customers. So when they get home, they have this wow experience, and we know that we've been able to kind of deliver happiness to them. And so again, the vision was, how do we create that at a national level?
Right. Yes. And that's obviously the challenge. I mean, there's so many local retailers, if you will, that they want to also be able to do that. So what would you say, obviously, we kind of talked about what prompted the transition online, obviously wanting to expand to a national market, but what were some of the decisions in this process? So what did you keep similar? Because obviously you wanted to keep this experience, this experience unlike almost anything else, and being able to go and see and understand these high performance home audio systems, but also there's going to be a lot that is going to change as well. The medium is totally different. Can you talk to some of that? How did you work through some of those decisions?
Yeah. So to be honest with you, the very first challenge that we faced and the problem that we were trying to solve, and the question that we were really asking ourselves, which was pretty daunting at the time, is why would anybody buy online from us, from AudioVice, at a national level? So, locally, obviously we have a very well-established brand, but at a national level, AudioVice was an unknown brand for sure.
Right.
And, in the days of Amazon and, other marketplaces where you can get, free shipping and free no hassle returns and all of those things, why would someone buy from AudioVice? And so that's a question that we really dove into to figure out, well, how can we create a compelling solution for folks to drive them to the store and not just window shop, but actually develop a relationship and ultimately become a lifelong customer. And so as we explored that further, what we felt like, what is our core value? What is it that we do that's unique? And again, best in the industry. And it really was these, 3 things is what it came down to, which are, again, the world-class showrooms that I mentioned, being able to tap into the folks, who have superior knowledge over anybody else in the industry, and all of that knowledge is in-house. And so how can we leverage that at a national level so that when someone comes into our store and works with one of our sales consultants and has a great experience and works with someone who's incredibly knowledgeable, again, how can we replicate that at a national level that a marketplace or a big box retailer just cannot provide? Right. And then the last part is just creating a curated list of products that if you know that it's sold on audiovice.com, or if we carry it in our store, it's a best in class product at that particular price point. We've already sort of done the curation for you, and it's got the AudioVice stamp of approval, so you can have the confidence that we're going to be able to deliver a great experience. So it was really those 3 things early on that we felt like if we could really nail those well, again, at a national level, then we feel like we'd at least have a chance of being able to make this a big success and, and earn those customers for hopefully, a lifetime. And
it sounds like it has been a success for you all. You have pulled that off successfully, which is really cool to hear.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. Maybe 2 quick stories. We have folks who now that we've been at this with the e-commerce site for over 3 years who have come back and purchased, 2, 3, 4 times, and they've bought, they had a great experience with one particular component of a full system.
Right.
And now they've come back and, built sort of their dream home theater or their dream 2-channel setup. And they know that, hey, we're the go-to destination whenever they're looking to continue to invest in their AV experience. And the other quick story, which was a lot of fun, is just last week, someone came into our store. They were standing out in the parking lot of our store and were taking pictures of the storefront, which was sort of unique.
Right.
And we struck up a conversation, and it turns out he was from California and was in town in the Raleigh for business.
Okay.
And has been watching our YouTube channel. And he says, his wife's like, why are you staying up late every night watching all these YouTube videos? He's like, because I love them. And so he came into the store and we showed him around. We kind of gave him a tour of where we film all the videos. And it was just really cool to see, now at a national level, people are really appreciating some of the hard work that we've invested in to try to create that experience that, gives people a reason to continue to come back.
Absolutely. Wow. This is great. Yeah, exactly. Because you've been able to identify what people are most wanting out of this. Obviously the retail experience offers truly an experience that you cannot be replicated online, but you figured out what were those core components. And obviously it's going to be different for every industry, every business,
Right.
across, even across the same vertical or in the same vertical, there's going to be tremendous variance, but you all successfully identified what was most important. Then you executed on it, and have been as successful as a result. I always think of like, how can we make this practical? And a couple of things I think of, and the one that's always stands out to me, it's kind of a similar question, but in a different vertical. Because, for example, like if somebody sells suits, like men's suits, that's usually a very personal experience. You're going in to get like a tailored suit. It's very difficult to replicate that online. I'm sure it is possible, but in that case, one has to be very calculated and very like exactly like you all were, figuring out what matters in this process, and then how can we give this to our customers.
Yeah, that's funny. That's a great example. When we were looking at the e-commerce space in general, and thinking about inspiration for the type of experience, the creative experience that we wanted to develop, obviously we looked well outside of our existing industry for inspiration. And one of the verticals that we looked at was actually in men's high-end apparel. We thought,
Really?
As people continue to purchase more and more items online, obviously some of the higher consideration purchase items were some of the last that people would buy online, whether it may be a ring or jewelry or a car. And for me, the last thing I ever thought you would want to buy online was a suit, right? It's something that's, again, very tailored, do all the different measurements and so forth. But at that time, I actually had my first experience buying a suit online, and actually had a great experience. They walked you through how to measure, all the different things that you need to measure. And I was able to personalize, the inseam and, a lot of different things that I just couldn't do, especially not at that price online, where normally you'd have to go to a high-end retailer to be able to do that. And so we thought, as people are continuing to knock down those walls in terms of what people would buy online, maybe we have a shot at someone saying, hey, I can buy a $4,000 turntable or a $5,000 4K projector or those type of things. And it's been great to see that now people are actually comfortable being able to make those high consideration purchases online, because of the ability that we're able to have to showroom those products, and again provide experience and confidence working with our sales team that they've made the right decision.
That is exactly. And yeah, just not necessary. And I think one challenge that a lot of merchants face is, okay, I'm going to go look and see what my competitors are doing so I can copy it. And there probably is some value in that. But what I hear you saying is, like, I'm sure you have looked at your competitors' websites in the past, but ultimately you're going across to other industries that might have similar characteristics, say high-end or luxury goods in that way, because they're kind of tangentially related, but it's not exactly. And so I think that's another thing that anybody can take away is, what attributes begin matching up, and look at other verticals and see what other industries are doing in that case.
Yeah, because ultimately they were still trying to solve the same problem that we were, even though they're a different vertical. Is, how do I provide a compelling experience to give people a reason to come to my website and engage and ultimately make a purchase that maybe they would not have done in the past. And so, it's a great way to sort of look for inspiration, and we certainly don't have all the answers, right? So
who does?
It was a way for us to sort of accelerate our learning along the process.
Good for you all. This is great. All right, so I want to move into another topic, because, we could call it communicating value proposition. Ultimately, what you all sell, or at least some amount of it, maybe not everything, but I'm sure can be bought off of other marketplaces, Amazon or B&H or Sweetwater, and some of these places. And in some of the conversations I had with merchants in it's other industries, but it's a challenge. Like, how do you communicate this value? Because of course everyone wants cheapest price, they want free shipping, they want fast returns, just give me that. But and I've been hearing through this conversation, you all offer way more value than just that. And I don't know what your policies are on those three specific areas I mentioned, but your value extends way more than just these three areas. So how do you communicate it? How do you stand out in this type of, ultimately it's kind of a cutthroat market?
Yeah, absolutely. Good question. At the very beginning, we thought, when someone comes to our website, we've obviously invested a tremendous amount of resources, whether that's, digital advertising or, paid search, all of those different things to drive people to our website. So from the very beginning, we wanted to remove any hurdle for someone making a purchase that you would find in terms of like the things that you just mentioned, which we feel like are now basically table stakes when it comes to, we offer 2-day free shipping on all items. There's no minimums.
Incredible.
A few exceptions when things that need to be shipped via freight, but other than that, 2-day free shipping on every item on our website. No hassle returns, price guarantee, all of those things that, Amazon has sort of conditioned into all of us over the last few years. So we wanted to go ahead and strip all of those away. So we didn't give someone a reason to come to our website, learn about a product, and then ultimately end up leaving to go buy on Amazon or another marketplace. So that was, again, table stakes at the very beginning. But again, once we had someone come to our site, we wanted to provide an experience that would really sort of walk them through the purchasing decision from sort of top of funnel all the way down to conversion. And so we've gone about that in a very consultative approach, where when you come to our website, you have the opportunity to engage in what we call a quiz, where we'll ask you a sequence of questions. And so through those questions, we're learning about obviously your budget, your preferences, what industry or what products that you're interested in, and then ultimately can put together a profile where we can recommend content and products that are relevant to your search criteria. And so that's, again, something that we try to do just as you would do in a retail store, where you would work with one of our consultants and they would go through a sequence of questions to learn about you and what you're desiring in terms of the ultimate experience that you're looking for. We're able to replicate that online at scale. And then secondly, our content forward approach of, our name, fortunately, Leon had the foresight 40 years ago to come up with the name Audio Advice, which is still very relevant today. And so we want to make sure that we're standing behind that name of Audio Advice. So if you come to our website or into our stores, we know that we're an industry leader and have an authoritative voice in the products and brands that we're representing. And you just can't find that, again, if you go to a marketplace website or if you go to a big box retailer, their knowledge of products may be, fairly shallow, where if you come to Audio Advice, again, folks have been in the industry for 10, 20, 30 years, and they're really going to be able to sort of be your guide throughout the process. And so that content forward approach, which we can talk about in more detail, has really been what's driven a lot of our overall growth over the last couple of years.
Yes, I think that's incredible. If I could back up to the quizzes, you mentioned that. 2 questions there. First, how did you come up with the questions to be asked on that quiz?
Yeah, I probably won't give it all away, but basically we worked with kind of a whole sequence of kind of UX and UI design, both on the visualization and the representation of how we asked the questions. So they felt very natural and conversational.
Right.
And then we focused, as you can imagine, a lot on, there's 100 different questions we could ask someone.
Right, exactly.
But ultimately we landed on 5 questions. And those 5 questions really helped us narrow down very, very quickly to be able to create, again, a profile based on what it is that you're looking for in terms of, again, budget, products, your own personal knowledge, and how much you'd already know about these things. And so it was, as you can imagine, a very lengthy process, but it was something that was, very well worth it once we executed it at the end.
That's great. And then who gets this quiz? Is it just something that the customer, that they, at their end of the quiz, it spits out a list of products that here's what you find helpful? Is it going to the sales team? So what happens after this quiz is completed?
Yeah, so you're able to engage with this experience, on our homepage. Obviously, it's something that's completely optional, and it's not something that we introduce friction into the experience. And so if it's something that folks don't want to enter into, then they don't have a problem bypassing it altogether. But it's something that we place strategically throughout the site, and then that information obviously goes to our sales team so that they can help work more closely with a customer, and they already have a lot of that background information from the beginning of their interaction with the customer.
So that's where it then replicates the in-store experience, because the sales team in the store and then the sales team online both are interacting based off the questions that they either asked or have been already asked for them on the website.
Right. So it was, what are we doing in store that works really well, and how do we translate that, online at a national level? And that was really
Exactly.
what the focus was from the beginning.
That's incredible. Yeah, and I think the practical takeaways from this segment of this episode is, so how do you communicate this value proposition? First, and it's something I've talked about quite often on this show, is the value proposition compelling? Do people find this helpful? And I think for you and what I've heard your value proposition through even this episode, to me, it is compelling because, if you're going to spend a significant sum of money on this really top high-end theater setup, for example, you want to make sure this is a good investment as opposed to just relying on your own, trying to figure out and piece this together yourself. And so how do you communicate this value proposition? And I think it was really interesting. I heard the other day that, for example, Lululemon, who makes a lot of athletic apparel, they will custom tailor. I understand clothes that are bought in the store, but it's not found anywhere on the website. And so like you all have put this prominently or in strategic places, more like across your website, so that customers will find it, but at the right times.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing there is Lululemon offers a little bit more custom experience in store, where they can provide tailoring where they can't necessarily offer that online, which I think we've almost taken a different approach, where what is that really highly customized experience that we can provide in store, and how do we replicate that? How can we replicate that online?
Exactly.
We offer 6 days a week, fully staffed chat, email, phone support. And you'd be surprised at how many people every day want to pick up the phone, or obviously, chat with one of our experts because they have a question, or they may just already know what they're looking for, but they want the affirmation that they're making the right decision. And they want to be able to speak with someone who can, ensure them that they have the confidence that they're making the right decision, and remove a lot of the concern, post-purchase. If I'm investing a lot of money into a particular product, I don't want to get a Ferrari and keep it stuck in second gear, right? I really want to be able to maximize the most of this, high performance product that I've purchased. And so we can work very closely with them post-purchase, which is, equally or more important than the actual transaction, to make sure that everything is set up correctly, everything's calibrated correctly, and all of those different things to make sure that they're really optimizing the performance of these high performance products that they're purchasing from us. Which
at the end of the day is happy customers. I mean, that's what you want. Then happy customers make good reviews. Happy customers keep coming back, and that is the most important part of it all.
Yeah. We, candidly, we sort of stole our mantra from Zappos. So we want to deliver happiness, right? They nailed it. So we might as well try to repeat that. And that's the experience that we want to try to deliver, right? Is at the end of the day, they're buying an experience. Maybe it's a TV to be able to watch movies with their family, or maybe it's a high performance, stereo setup to be able to listen to music with their significant other, or whatever that experience may be.
Exactly.
We want to deliver, happiness through those experiences.
Well done. That's exactly right. And I think the another thing to touch on here is content and the creation. And again, like I love the name Audio Advice. And this time of the market, it seems like advice is probably one of the most, with just the knowledge in that department, is probably one of the single greatest differentiators. Again, Amazon doesn't have it, but you all do. And so how can you talk about how you leverage this, how you make it effective in this, on your website and through the different channels that you have, like your YouTube channel, which is, I understand, is just growing like crazy. So I guess let's talk about it from a high level view first. So how do you leverage this content? And then we can drill down maybe a little bit more.
Yeah. So if you're in this industry, you've obviously heard for years and years and years that content is king.
Yes.
So no surprise there. We didn't come up with it ourselves, but we really focused on, okay, if content is going to be king, how do we make sure we do it really, really well? We knew that we had the expertise in-house, but how could we create compelling content that is relevant with our target audience, and create it in a manner which is, easy to consume and explore and all of those things. And then again, we're recommending content that's relevant based on previous searches and all those kind of things. So we first launched a number of different buyer's guides for a couple of different verticals within our website.
Okay.
And that was a great way to sort of interact with customers to say, hey, if you're looking to make a purchase, whether it's a headphone buyer's guide, a speakers buyer's guide, a turntable buyer guide, all of those different things, this is where you need to go, right? And so you can read through that buyer's guide, and it's if you're just getting started, it's shallow enough that it's easy to understand, and it's also if you're been in this for a while and you're sort of an industry enthusiast or music enthusiast, it's deep enough to get lost in as well. So we really try to make that fit for a lot of different folks. And those buyer's guides are what really drove a lot of traffic to the site early on, and then we started developing very specific product reviews in more detail. So now you want to buy a turntable, you know what to look for when you're buying a turntable. So now let us unpack these different levels of turntables to make sure we can figure out and customize the right turntable for you. And that's been something that's been really successful for us, both in terms of our written reviews on the website, which have really driven a lot of our organic growth to the site. And then, as you mentioned, our YouTube channel, which we really just started to lean into about 2.5 years or so ago. And as you mentioned, we are now well over 30,000 subscribers. In 2019, a really fun stat, we had over 7 million minutes watched on our YouTube channel.
Wow.
And it's great to see that the pace is actually accelerating. In the last 30 days, we had 1.2 million minutes watched. So you can see, even post-holiday, we're still seeing a pretty significant acceleration in the growth of the YouTube channel. And what's great is a lot of the products, obviously in consumer electronics, products have a certain life cycle, but because of the content that we've created, and a lot of it is sort of higher funnel, we really are seeing a lot of evergreen content on YouTube, which has helped our channel to continue to grow. So we're still seeing a return on the investment that we've made on those YouTube videos, several years into it now. So it's a great channel, especially for us to continue to reach, new music enthusiasts who maybe aren't familiar with Audio Advice, but they go to our YouTube channel looking for a particular product. And then obviously ultimately that drives them to our site. And then we can begin that, experience from, beginning all the way to the end.
Exactly. That's just brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. And congratulations on the subscribers and the watched minutes. That's certainly shows some incredible momentum. So that is good. Yeah. So budgets and resources are always limited, especially in marketing, there's always a cap as far as what you can invest. How do you figure out within these constraints what you're going to spend your time working on? Whether it's going to be a buying guide, which I think is absolutely brilliant, whether it's going to be another YouTube video, or what products you're going to feature. How do you forecast what's going to be the most effective next thing to do with your resources?
Yeah, we've sort of had the ability and the opportunity now that we've been in this for a little over 3 years on our e-commerce site, where we've developed a pretty good formula or recipe where we've been able to see, we've tested and tried a lot of things. Okay. And I think one of the things that I wouldn't say makes us unique, but makes us a little bit more uncommon in the fact that we're not afraid to test a lot of things. And so we've really tested a lot of different formats, both with video and with our written content, to really try to figure out and test, well, what is resonating with our audience and what is not. And then obviously we're not doing the things that didn't work well, and we're trying to do more of the things that we have worked that have done well, and then just doing them more frequently. And so that there's no secret necessarily in how we arrived at those decisions, other than just testing a lot of different formats, figuring out what works, and then just really sort of pouring fuel on the fire, if you will, for the things that have worked, and reinvesting in those. I mean, we've tried a lot of different video formats, from 30-second type of commercials to short form to very long, in-depth, YouTube videos that you might find that are 20 minutes long or greater. We've done live videos on a weekly basis to reach folks through social media and those things, and then drive them to our site to go further and deeper into the different content that we have. So we've ultimately just tried a lot of different things, and once we figure out what works, it's sort of rinse and repeat. And again, how do we do it more frequently? But it is incredibly expensive, as you said, to be able to execute this well. It takes a lot of resources, whether it's full-time video staff or content writers or all of these different things. It's not a inexpensive investment, but we found that we knew we were really gonna not just stick our toe in the water, but really dive in. And so we wanted to play this to win, and so the investments obviously paid off.
As very well evidenced. Again, this is great. And even like you mentioned, content writer, I'm sure these people have to be technical too. It's not like you can just hire any content writer from anywhere. I'm guessing they have to be technical, which raises,
again, the name is Audio Advice, and that's what we're trying to espouse, this expertise. And so, people will call you out. And so if, you don't represent that authoritative, ability in your content, people are going to call you out on it. And so we really make sure that, if we're putting something out, it's something that we know we can stand behind.
Good. That's good. Final question here. How do you make evaluations of, say, subjective content? So, if a video is really focused and really for a specific niche, how do you say, yeah, this was a really effective video versus another video that you might put out, or another article or buying guide that you put out that's really general and not, maybe it covers a lot of products or something that more people are going to come across? How do you determine, like like you mentioned, the testing, which is great, and all the video formats and content formats, but how do you know in this case, what are some of the factors that go into this type of a decision?
Yeah, good question. So every piece of content that we create has a very specific purpose and a goal and something that we're trying to measure in terms of success. Okay. But not every video that we produce is, hey, we want to get 100,000 views on this video. That's actually quite the opposite. We know that we can create a video and show some really cool eye candy. Here's a $100,000 home theater and give it a really cool title, and it's going to get a lot of views, which is great to sort of expand our brand recognition. But many of the videos that we create have far less than that in terms of viewership. But we're trying to answer a very specific question or address a very specific topic that, again, establishes us as a thought leader in the space, and really, then begins to engage a customer, through our whole, online strategy that will then sort of navigate or guide them through sort of a top of funnel approach all the way down. So a lot of the videos and content pieces that we create, even some, most recently, are, how does the new Sonos update impact me if I have older gear that's, beyond a certain number of years old? What will that look like for me? And so we did a video that's, again, very specific. It's targeting not only a certain, way that people listen to music, but it's a very certain product owner. And so we really dove in and provided, a pretty lengthy, both written and video review on that topic. Every week there's different topics that we're trying to just make sure that we keep our finger on the pulse of what our customers are asking about, what they want to know about. Okay. And then we're trying to develop a lot of content to, again, to answer those questions. But then a lot of it is sort of internally, what are the topics that we think are going to resonate with our customers, and what are the new products that we're going to be carrying that we want to make sure that we have a video and a content piece ready to go the day that they launch, so that, again, we're the go-to destination. If you do a YouTube search for a particular video, our video is showing up, number one. That's so it's a lot of different criteria that go into it, but it's something that we're very intentional about. Well, and I appreciate what I was hearing about setting goals, and then it being okay if it's not necessarily going to get the highest number of visits, but also recognizing that there is different purposes in content that's put out, whether it's educational or brand awareness. Right. And also, like what you were saying, is listening to customers. So I'm guessing they call in, ask these questions, and then if you get a certain number of these questions, you probably create some content, as well as you're expecting certain needs in the market as well. So it's both reactive as well as proactive in this front. So that is great, Jonathan. This has been very educational. Yeah, it's important to make sure that you're reaching your audiences or your customers where they are. And so whether it's through, social media, through, YouTube, through our direct lines of communication on our website, chat, email, and so forth, we put questions out there, and we make sure that we're actually listening and paying attention to them. And you'd be surprised how much that matters and how much they value just knowing that we're actually listening and care about their response. And again, it just sort of continues to build that relationship.
Wow. This is great, Jonathan. Incredible information. I know people are going to get a lot of really valuable insights out of this. And so I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for taking time out of your crazy busy day. I know you got a lot going on, but thank you for taking this time out of it. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been my pleasure. I wish the best to you, and hopefully this has been valuable to at least somebody out there listening. And if you have any more questions, obviously reach out to us at audioadvice.com. We'll be happy to answer any more questions from there. And obviously we'd love to encourage people to check out our website, and we'd love to hear any feedback. If you're in this industry or if you've got feedback for us directly, we'd love to hear that as well.
Or if you are in the market for a top of the line audio system and want good advice on it, it's audioadvice.com. Absolutely.
That's right. Thanks for the shameless plug. Really appreciate that.
It's great. All right. Well, thank you so much, Jonathan. It was great having you on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks.
All right. That was, I don't know any way else to put that other than incredible. You see, we're listening to somebody who's been through this, who has executed. I'm sure we couldn't say flawlessly. I'm sure Jonathan's made mistakes, just like every merchant makes mistakes. We all do, but they've learned, they've tested. And I hope you notice that word. They tested and they saw what worked and they saw what didn't work. I hope you found this helpful today. If by any chance you're listening on Apple Music, Apple Podcasts, actually, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or any other syndicator like that, feel free to subscribe. Feel free to leave me a review. Again, it would make me really happy to get hopefully a 5-star review if you liked this show, and because we're coming out with future ones just like this. Thanks for taking the time to listen. Hope you found it beneficial, and we'll talk to you next time.